level best. And I thank you for this opportunity to glorify Krishna. So with that, I'll do the opening verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chavanarottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamajire Nastapaya Supateshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtaki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer the respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. I'd also like to offer my respectful obeisances to His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and His sincere followers, by whose grace we have access to this transcendental wisdom. By regular attendance on classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Irrevocable. Ah, there it is. Irrevocable. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
You are irrevocable. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So today we are reading from the 10th canto, chapter 86, text 36 through 45. 36 through 45. Yes.
9 verses.
9 verses. And there's a lot of different topics we could go into, but we'll choose text 38 to focus on. So with that, starting with text 36, I'll read the translations. Please stay a few days in our house, along with these brahmanas, all-pervading one. And with the dust of your feet, sanctify this dynasty of Nimi. Shukadev Goswami continued. Thus invited by the king, the supreme lord, sustainer of the world, consented to stay for some time to bestow good fortune on the men and women of Mithila. So a little context, brief context. The king Bahulashva has invited Krishna to his house. And after being received there, the king is requesting from a place of affection. That's Krishna, along with his entourage of great Brahmana sages. Even Srila Veda Vyas is there, Narada Muni is there, Shukadeva Goswami himself is also there. The king, Bahulashva, invites them to stay for a few more days. As we'll see, there is also another great personality, the Brahmana Shrutadev, who's also invited Krishna and the sages. Okay. Text 38. Shrutadev received Lord Achyuta into his home with as much enthusiasm as that shown by King Bahulashva. After bowing down to the Lord and the sages, Shrutadev began to dance in great joy, waving his shawl. After bringing mats of grass and darba straw and seating his guests upon them. Sitting his guest upon the darba straw. He greeted them with words of welcome. Then he and his wife washed their feet with great pleasure. Purport. BBT purports, to provide even this simple welcome, Shrutadev had to go next door to his neighbors and borrow extra mats. This insight is provided by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. Text 40. With the wash water, the virtuous Shrutadev copiously sprinkled himself, his house, and his family. Overjoyed, he felt that all his desires had now been fulfilled. 41. He worshipped them with offerings of auspicious items easily available to him, such as fruits, ushira root, pure nectarian water, fragrant clay, tulasi leaves, kusha grass, and lotus flowers. Then he offered them food that increases the mode of goodness. 42. He wondered, how is it that I have fallen into the blind well of family life, have been able to meet Lord Krishna? And how is it that I, fallen into the blind well of family life, have been able to meet Lord Krishna? And how have I also been allowed to meet these great brahmanas, who always carry the Lord within their hearts? Indeed, the dust of their feet is the shelter of all holy places. We're just witnessing the great humility of this Shrutadev, this Brahmana Shrutadev. When his guests were seated comfortably, having each received a proper welcome, Shrutadev approached them and sat down nearby with his wife and children and other dependents. Then, while massaging the Lord's feet, he addressed Krishna and the sages. 44. Shrutadev said, "It is not that we have attained the audience of the Supreme Person only today, for we have in fact been associating with him ever since he created this universe with his energies, and then entered it in his transcendental form." 645. The Lord is like a sleeping person who creates a separate world in his imagination, and then enters his own dream and sees himself within it. Thank you, Adipurush. PPT purport. In the illusion of his dream, a sleeping person creates an apparent world, complete with cities populated by the fictional products of his imagination. In somewhat the similar way, the Lord manifests the cosmos. Of course, the creation is not illusory for the Lord, but it is for those souls who are put under the control of his Maya potency. As her service to the Lord, Maya deludes the conditioned souls into accepting as real her temporary, insubstantial manifestations. All right. So many topics we can speak on that. Let's see. So we will go ahead and read the Sanskrit for text 38. Shrutadeva Chutyam Praptam Savagan Janogayata Natva Munin Susamhisto Dunvan Vasho Nanartaha. Shrutadeva Shrutadev Achyutam Lord Krishna Praptam obtained Swagrahan at his house Janaka Bahuleshwar Yata just as Tatva bowing down Muni to the sages Su very much Samhrista delighted Dunvan waving Vasha his cloth Nanartaha he danced. Translation. Shrutadev received Lord Achyuta into his home with as much enthusiasm as that shown by King Bahuleshwar. After bowing down to the Lord and the sages, Shrutadev began to dance with great joy, waving his shawl. Okay. We'll offer some more prayers.
That's right.
Yeah. Adipurush is displaying the ecstasy.
They do that at football games too.
Everything has its source in the divine, I suppose. Adipurush is saying they're doing it at football games, so the original expression is waving our shawl for Krishna. So I'll offer some prayers, and then I will attempt to share something, and we can churn this nectar further. Om Megadivindasya Gyanjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Upadamaya Dudantik Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padanamaham Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Vajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Tamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kantara Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Shri Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripe Panchakapatarubhischa Vipasanyurevcha Patitanam Bhavanyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Girada Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. Okay. Translation one more time. Shruta received Lord Achyuta into his home with as much enthusiasm as shown by King Bahulashwa. After bowing down to the Lord and the sages, Shruta began to dance with great joy, waving his shawl. So giving a little bit of background to the pastime, excellent pastime that we are speaking in the 10th canto. Krishna, if I remember correctly, is traveling here and there. And so he knew that these very pure devotees were living in this nearby city and he wanted to visit them. And so upon being received, it's written so beautifully in earlier verses how Shrutadev and King Bahulashva approached Krishna at the very same time. And they both had this deep desire in the Lord to render loving services to him. Because they had such deep affection, when that affection rises in the heart, it naturally springs forward in our actions. We become inspired to offer Krishna different things.
Gestures of affection.
Gestures of affection. Excellently stated, Adipurush. Thank you for that. Gestures of affection. We become inspired to offer different gestures of affection. And so we see this exhibited by King Bahulashva and Shrutadev, the great Brahmana. And so the problem that we experience in this world is that when we, for whatever reason, are requested to do something, or somebody wants our audience, or that we have to schedule a meeting with them, we can't be in two places at the same time. We experience this limitation being in the material world. Even just yesterday, we were having a sangha, and I had scheduled a consultation meeting just before that. And so I was meeting with them, but then it was slipping into the time where the next event was starting and people were coming in, and I'm just like trying to split myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm giving one point of direction to the person I'm meeting with, but also, oh, this friend is coming, and also that friend is coming. Oh, and they want to say hi, and they'll start coming and say, oh, what do I do? So I had to do my best. Give one point of attention, ask other people to wait. They may not be as satisfied, but maybe they can connect amongst each other. Like this, we experience the limitation in this world. And the reason for that is that we live in a world that is limited. We live in this material universe where there is a finite amount of what we can do in our capacities. Although the soul is unlimited in its nature, when it comes into the material universe, it experiences the limitations of the material universe. Such Ananda means eternality, full cognizance and bliss. But in the opposite, we see in the material world. Spiritual world has all the spiritual elements. In the material world, it has these limitations, such as temporality instead of eternality, limitation in consciousness, like not knowing what time it is when you're having a consultation meeting, instead of full cognizance, chit, and instead of full bliss, although the soul is seeking its bliss in so many ways, we find that despite that desire and endeavor, we can see that there are so many difficulties and so many sufferings from the different kleshas. Adibhoktaka klesha, adidaivaka klesha, and adiatmaka klesha. Different disturbances from one's own mind and body, from other living entities like snakes and mosquitoes, tigers, and mean people, and also natural disasters. All these different disturbances can come in this world, where we experience limitations. However, this is one of the unlimited glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and taking his shelter. Is that Krishna is unlimited. He is Ishvara, no? Parama Krishna, Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha Anade Adi Govinda Sarvakaranakavi. Krishna as the form, the Vigraha of Sat Chit Ananda, all of that spiritual potency described in the Bhagavad Gita as Para Prakriti, spiritual energy. And so being so, he's not limited to the rules of the material universe. And thus we see in this wonderful pastime, he is able to reciprocate perfectly with the love of every devotee simultaneously. And so he, unlike myself, he can receive two people at once, and he can equally at the same time say, yes, I will go to your house at the same time, the same place. I can imagine how much of an awkward situation that might be if two people come and you have to choose, like, okay, I'll go to your house, and the other person feels like, oh, he didn't choose me. It's like, okay, I'll go to your house. Oh, this person didn't choose me. What to do? Krishna, that's no problem. He can say yes to both, and he goes to both persons' house simultaneously and receives their natural love and affection. And so the principle for today is that Krishna reciprocates with our love. And it's just that love that he's looking for. If you look at the details of the pastime, the external paraphernalia in which Krishna is worshipped with by King Bahulashva and Shrutadev are completely different. The king has great opulences at his disposal. And so he's offering great food preparations and opulent dishes with beautiful paraphernalia items. And Krishna receives that happily because it's offered with love. Even the verse before, the key ingredient in both these verses is that it's offered with love and devotion. Krishna doesn't need a fruit or a flower or water. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What he's hungry for is the love, and that's the ingredient which makes him run after. And so in this instance of Shrutadev, it's described even in the purports by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur that Shrutadev was a humble Brahmana. He didn't have all of these material opulences at his disposal. He even went to his neighbor's house to borrow extra mats so that he could see Krishna and his guests. He's waving and fanning Krishna with his own shawl. He's waving and serving Krishna in this way. He's serving with the food preparations that are easily at his disposal. But it's perfect because his love is what he is imbued in his offering. And so this is a huge lesson for us that there is no obstacle, material obstacle in our worship of Krishna. Whatever we have at our disposal, we simply offer that with love. And it has to be that love that is the key inspiration. Because we see in other pastimes with Krishna when he went to, was it Hastinapur? And he went to the house of Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was inviting, oh, please come. We have all these nice preparations and wonderful opulent things. But Krishna wasn't so much attracted. Why? Because there was no love in the heart of Duryodhana. Duryodhana had a scheme to force Krishna to join his schemes. And if Krishna didn't agree, he had plans to try to capture him and subjugate him and all these things. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's in the heart of every person. He knows Duryodhana's intentions. He can smell. It said that he knows the intention of everyone's desire, just like one can smell the fragrance of a flower. He's aware. And so Krishna wasn't so much attracted by that. Although it was the same wonderful opulences that King Bahulashva had. In this case, with Duryodhana, Krishna wasn't so much attracted because there was no love. It was missing that key ingredient. But we see that in that same pastime, Krishna goes to the house of Vidura. And similar to Shrutadev, Vidura didn't know that Krishna, Vidura was living simply. We could say like that. Actually, I think he had great opulences. Anyhow, Vidura didn't know that Krishna was coming. And so they didn't have all of these opulent preparations ready for him. But seeing Krishna, their natural affection just springing from the heart, and say, like, whatever we have in the house, let us offer that to Krishna. And so they, like Shrutadev in this case, they just gathered whatever they had, whatever they could get a hold of, and offer that to Krishna. And as the pastime tells us, and I've said in classes, that they had bananas readily available, so they were trying to offer that. But in the ecstasy of their love, Ashnami Prayatatmanaha, in the ecstasy of their love, they intentionally, unbeknownst to them, they offered the banana peel to Krishna instead of the actual fruit. Usually when you offer someone the banana, it's the fruit and you throw away the peel. They were so much absorbed in the ecstasy of love, they threw away the actual fruit and gave him the banana peel. And Krishna ate it with great relishment. Now, one of our acharyas gives this commentary, this really nice purport, that normally flowers are to be smelt. Pacham pusham phalam toyam. Krishna says, if one offers me a fruit, water, leaf, or flower, I will accept it. And Ashnami literally translates to I eat that. Like I eat, I honor that. Ashnami, chewing and eat. So these are normally flowers for being smelt, but in the overwhelming ecstasy of love, the absorption of that intense prema, he eats it with great relish. With great relishment. So these are the inconceivable loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees. And Krishna is always searching after that love. Why? Because it is the greatest pleasure. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also have that desire to relish that love. Ananda Chinmaya Vyasa. We are eternally pleasure-seeking living entities. And thus, we are always seeking that loving exchange. And thus, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say that even in this world, every action is an expression of one of two things. It's either a call for love or an attempt to offer love. And that may come out in so many ways. It might come out as crying or begging for attention or being angry or offering gifts and offering nice words. But everything boils down to one of two things. An attempt to offer love or a cry to receive love. And that original propensity comes in the soul's natural propensity to love and be loved. Share that love with Krishna and his devotees and receive that love from Krishna and his devotees. And there is no higher example for us than Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya than the example of, well, I guess there are two actually, Sri Vrindavan Dham and in Navadvip, or at least in Gauranga Lila in general. But to focus on Sri Vrindavan, this is where Krishna exhibits the, it said by Acharya, is the sweetest form of loving exchanges. There in Vrindavan, there is the constant churning of Vipralamba and Sambhog, where their hearts are so much overwhelmed by this sweetness without the tinge of reverence that is seen in the Vaikuntha plays. I was just reading these nice commentaries mentioning earlier in the 10th canto.
Not duty. It's not duty. It's not duty. It's not duty.
Yes, exactly. It's not coming from a place of duty. It's coming from full spontaneity of love. Yes, Adi Krishna.
Can you hear me okay? We're wondering, have you had experience yourself of receiving someone by washing feet, or you've seen some foot washing pastimes? There's a lot of them really funny. When the first time Radhanath Swami came to this building, we washed his feet. And there was some other people here who didn't want us to do it. It was like they were going to kill me. But, you know, Bhakti Tirtha Swami came here. He only let me wash one foot. He said, "You're my godbrother. I can't let you wash both feet." I was like, God. There was a lot of pastimes like that. when Caladri was the GBC for the Ohio area, he went to the Columbus Temple. And when he came out of the vehicle, they came running over with a big kirtan and a bowl and a pitcher. So when he saw the bowl and the pitcher, he started to run back to the vehicle. No. But there's a lot of funny devotees there, and they ran after him and they caught him. So they picked him up in the air, and he wrapped his feet up inside the dhoti. So they couldn't wash him. So they were dunking him in the water, washing his feet through the dhoti while the kirtan was going on. It was so funny. Anyway, there's a lot of paths. Do you know your personal experiences with foot washing? No?
None like
it's
that.
Kind of like falling out of devotees don't do it, and some gurus say, no, they don't want to receive it, but these are going on, and it's a standard.
Thank you.
Prabhu, may I interject here?
Yeah, please.
Sure, Prabhu.
I can't wait to hear Prabhu's. By the way, Prabhu, when we think of what a true Brahmana is, the first quality is gentility. And, excuse me, I had to run in from the field, so I'm catching my breath. And then knowledge and the ability to synthesize it with everyday life and to teach those who are wrapped up in the mode of passion, such as administrators and farmers and working in the world. So I when you give a class, I'm like, yeah, excuse me, I get to listen to not a new party, not somebody who has designated themselves, but somebody who possesses the quality. I'm your worst enemy right now because I'm praising you in front of others. And so now you have to do the real Brahmin thing, which is pass it on. But this is what washing feet is all about. It's humbling yourself beneath someone to whom you have spiritual respect, soul respect, and that you're saying, I am doing this to show you that I'm at your feet, and I'm going to understand what you are saying to me, and any mission that you should give unto me, or anything that you might say to me, I'm going to respect and have good faith that Krishna is speaking through you right now. And that's the thing is to wash the feet is to get in such close proximity to the words of the guru or the teacher or the senior that Christ washed the feet of his disciples, including Judas. So we see that this is something that is not a ritual without understanding. And that when someone washes another's feet, they also have to be willing to follow the instructions or surrender the doubt that they may have had, which rests in all of us. So thank you very much, Prabhu. I think it's like I said, I ran in from the field to speak and to praise you, and I'm sorry I had to do that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your comments, as always, Nima Prabhu. They're always relishable. And it's you're offering some very kind words to me that I certainly don't deserve on my own. All those good qualities in me that you see are certainly from the teachers who have placed it there, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to share that forward. And you tipped me off by giving me the answer of passing it forward, so that's I can do. And thank you for mentioning that mood of humility. And I had just kind of noticed, like even on the back of our Srimad Bhagavatam copy, Krishna is receiving that foot wash, I think, from King Yudhishthir, who is also, like you mentioned, kind of subservient himself to the Supreme Lord and ready to take his instructions. And like you even mentioned, personalities like Jesus would humble himself before his disciples. And we see that even Krishna, I believe, in that Ashwamedha Yagya, he was washing the feet of all the guests who would come. And it's an Ashwamedha Yagya. It's like the entire world of people. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is washing the feet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is washing the feet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is washing the feet of all those who came inside. And we see he does that in other instances too, I believe, with Akrura when he comes. Balaram and Krishna, when he arrives in Vrindavan, they also wash his feet. And shows the immense humility of Krishna, which brings us again to that principle of the class that Krishna reciprocates with our love. And so, as it said, we were just reading this commentary, that how we approach him, Krishna is inclined to reciprocate with that melody, reciprocate with that mood. And so if we're desiring to go to this land of Vrindavan, where Krishna reciprocates with those moods, with that kind of full absorption, that full sweetness, where there's no tinge of reverence, no tinge of obligation or duty, then it requires us to fully absorb ourselves in that full mood of Vrindavan. We see here this Shrutadev and King Bahulashva, their full love is coming out, so much so that it attracts Krishna himself along with his entourage of sages. But Sri Chaitanya has really given us so much grace and opportunity to really enter into Vrindavan. Like Shrutadev is getting the personal association, and he's honoring Krishna and offering these loving things to him and his associates. How much more of an amazing opportunity to enter into Vrindavan, where there's only the sweetness, where the trees themselves, and everything there is a person, the trees themselves are blooming and blossoming to receive Krishna in the morning time when he's herding his cows and bringing them into the forest, where his cowherd friends are laughing and joking with him and playing, where his mother Yashoda is constantly immersed in the ecstasy of parental affection, the ecstasy and anxiety of parental affection, wondering and making sure that Krishna is okay. And so like this, Krishna is always reciprocating with that particular mood and mellow which his devotee is offering to him. And so to churn that, there's always a cycle in Vrindavan. During the morning hours, all the creatures in the forest are in separation. It's one description of how Vrinda orchestrates them all to rise and rejoice and to give up the separation when Krishna is coming into the forest in the morning time. And during the midday, the residents of Vrindavan are in separation. They hear word that when Krishna is going to the forest in the morning, everybody comes out of their house. And it's said that like they're decorating the road with their tears, because their love is so intense. The love is so much desiring to please Krishna. This comes from that deep appreciation of Krishna's qualities, his mood, his humility, the way that he interacts, his playfulness, of course, all of his beauty. And so in this way, when we see Krishna, that natural appreciation develops. And when we ask, okay, well, if our desire is to be with him and to serve him, why is there this Vipralamba? But actually, Srila Rupa Goswami in his Upadesha Amrita, or Nectar of Instruction, writes that Vipralamba is that highest service, that service in separation. And it churns that love. That Sambho brings us together, like we may have even experienced to some extent in this world. When we're with someone, we can exchange those loving dealings. But then when we're separate, we're missing them and we're yearning, and that brings a higher intensity. And so then when we get connected again, that love has increased. And really that union and separation, that stretching and that coming back, it really churns and makes it go deeper and deeper. Yes.
Hare Krishna. It's really interesting to consider that this isn't just something in a book or something that happened long ago. It's something that we can experience on different levels. Who would you imagine washing their feet? Who would you imagine you being the washer? And then the person receiving it. I had one experience where, different occasions, but we went to do a preaching program, and there was a whole community of Indian people, and they were chanting Hare Krishna in front of the house. And one devotee with me walked up to the house, and the lady of the house went like this, and they brought out, I told you this story, they brought out a big chair, so the devotee had to our little guardian deities, and sat down in the chair. And then they brought out a bowl and a pitcher and a towel. And in front of all these people with the kirtan, he just got up and ran back to the vehicle, yelling out, "I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy." Jumped in the vehicle, closed the curtain, locked the door, and the kirtan stopped. And it was like, then this lady looked at me and said, "Adi," and pointed to the chair. And I was like, "Da, da, da, I'm going also." But I remember, it's a memory, but so powerful that it was almost like audible. Prabhupada saying, "You accept this on my behalf." So I didn't go back to the vehicle. I sat down in the chair, and this beautiful Indian lady with jasmine flowers in her hair and a gold filigree star knelt down on the ground, took off my socks, and started washing my feet with warm milk. And I was just sitting there, and the kirtan started up again, and then the milk was dripping off my feet, and she was drinking the milk as it's coming off my feet. And I was like, oh, but like you said, passing it on, you accept this on my behalf. So I went back and I told my authority what happened, and he said, "You see, if you reject it thinking it's for you, or you accept it thinking it's for you, it's the same damn thing." People offer us words of appreciation, like you said, pass it on. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. They'll offer us donations, they will offer us gestures of respect and practically reverence, and we are to accept these things on behalf of our spiritual master and not thinking that's for us.
Mm.
So this is not just something in a book or something that happened long ago, just an idea, but this is happening in subtle, maybe a very ostentatious way, like washing feet, or just somebody offering you a word of praise or a respect or a donation. And we're not to, if rejected thinking it's for me, that's just as ridiculous as accepting it thinking it's for me. Anyway, this is an application of the idea of this gesture of affection and respect that here it comes.
Yeah.
So right after this, we're going to wash your feet.
Oh, okay.
Get the water.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Purush. Those are very nice meditations and realizations and stories. And like you mentioned so nicely, that attraction and aversion, that accepting praise for oneself and the rejecting praise for oneself. It really depends on the consciousness, where if one can reject it in a humble way of thinking like that, it might actually make them proud, but also accepting it in a humble way. On behalf of the spiritual master. Yeah, that's a really nice consciousness. And if one has that cultivated, then it certainly protects them from pride. Like we see even in Prabhupada's example, when he was, being praised in Mayapur with like thousands of devotees around, as like a spiritual master of the universe. Meanwhile, he calls one of his disciples and asks, he's like, "What's wrong with your foot? What's wrong with your foot?" And he's like, "Oh, Prabhupada, I have some infection and it's not good." And he's like, meanwhile, Guru Puja is going on, thousands of people are worshiping. He's like, "Oh, you take this," he reaches in his purse and he's like, "You take these rupees, you go to the store, you get this kind of medicine, and then you come back and let me know that it's getting healed." So in the meanwhile of getting praise, he's not taking any of it for himself. I think there's one description where he says that he feels like a dog sitting on the throne of a king.
From the zoo garden. Bhaktisiddhanta said, you're worshiping and respecting me like an animal from the zoo garden.
Oh, wow.
You heard that one?
No, that's really nice. Yeah.
Bhaktisiddhanta said.
Bhaktisiddhanta. Yeah. See, like this, we see in our parampara, they all have this mood of passing it up, ultimately up to Krishna. And Krishna even does the same. And so it's so beautiful to see this mood that even like you mentioned, that culture of foot washing, the offering it respect and appreciation is such a nice ancient way of showing that honoring. And we see that even Krishna does this in a very humble mood, and receiving it in the humble mood, and also washing other people's feet.
When that devotee rejected it and the kirtan stopped, it was like, oh my God. You want to say, you understand what happened?
Yes.
Everybody felt like, oh, we're just trying to, and you won't take it,
Which is so nice why you see Shrutadev here is relishing that, and in fact he sprinkles it on himself his house and his family, recognizing that it's all auspicious. And so like this, so we can conclude with today's, we had some back and forth in the commentary, so I'll just conclude the topic for today. With that, Krishna reciprocates with our particular love. And so if we, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, wish to enter into Vrindavan, then it requires us to follow in the mood of Vrindavan, to properly, under guidance of the spiritual master and of our acharyas, develop this humble mood of service and wanting to develop the particular flavor of love that is present in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And this requires full absorption. Recently, I've been thinking of this analogy that there's glubjamins. When you make the glubjamin first, it's this doughy ball, and then you sink it in the syrup. And now we may have had different glubjamins where you bite into it and you realize the syrup has just been on the outside. But it didn't fully absorb in. And you see some that were in for a good amount of time, but then you bite in and you see that the core was still dry. Right? The core was still dry. So like this in our spiritual life, we have to let this consciousness, this mood of Krishna consciousness, the mood of the residence of Vrindavan, sink into the core of our heart. Sink into the core of our heart. Just like the glubjamin, when it sinks in that sweet syrup, then when you bite into it and it's all the way through, it's fully immersed, it's sponged. In fact, the best of all glubjamins are when you even touch it, the syrup just starts pouring. So like this, we want to follow in the residence of Vrindavan, who have this sweet mood. And gradually, by immersing our consciousness in the sweetness of Vrindavan, we can also develop that mood and go to Vrindavan and play with Krishna. As Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, play with Krishna, dance with Krishna, eat with Krishna. We can love Krishna in a similar mood to that of the residence of Sri Vrindavan Dham. With that, I thank you all very much. I encourage you all and ask for the blessings so that I may also do this, the perfection of life, developing this mood of loving service to Krishna. And if anything was inaccurate or wrong or disturbing, I please apologize for that. Please forgive me as your humble servant. And thank you for this opportunity to glorify Krishna.
Thank you, Gulabja Manohara Prabhu.
I love
You bite
that.
into rascal, it squeaks. Do you ever see that?
Squeaks the rest.
If a rascal is prepared properly, it's like a glubjamin. It's a white color.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was
it's made
thinking
of
of that.
sandesh. I think it's made of sandesh. But it squeaks when you bite into it, like that, because it's super soaked in nectar juice.
Yeah, I was thinking that one too. I was like, if not globulin, then rascula.
Of the example is higher than precept, so especially prasadam examples, they're really illustrative.
Yeah. Okay.
Arjun, you ever bite into a rascal and it squeak? Yeah, see, verified by Sadhu.
Confirmation.
Glubjamins go off like a bomb.
I saw Prabhupada bite into a glubjamin one time and the juice squirted out and everybody went, "Jai!"
You can't properly eat a glubjamin unless you're ready to take a shower, change your clothes, and take a shower afterwards.
Yes, it must be like that to their Krishna consciousness. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you all. It looks like we were going to have darshan here in a few seconds. So I will go ahead and offer a ki jai. Katara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, really? Well, that's good. Well, it could be dark, but still just the beauty of it. That's good. Is that okay? Will you put this on that bottom of that little speaking table there? got me thinking about glove jummers. I had a glove jummer for years.
Really?
I don't think they don't make them very well.
Yeah, we gotta bring it back. It's not bullets.
Prabhupada used to have a jar of them on his desk. And when the marketing people was complaining to Prabhupada, Kirtananda says we can only have two. And Prabhupada said, Kirtananda is advanced, he can only have two, but anybody else can have as many as they want.
Yes.
Getting better at that. Lots of love. Right?
You need somebody.
You ever hear him say the word love? He's got a French accent. Love.
Jai Shri Ram.
Street of our spiritual master, are the right ways and beautiful. Bhagavatam Street of your life. By His grace, one can cross the ocean to suffering and obtain the mercy. I only wish to have my conscious purified. Other words in amazement. Attachment to love's sweet perfection. The open my heart and eyes filled by our transcendence. He is my Lord, our Master. The Vedic scriptures saying of His canon. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, friend of the Lord and Master. It was changing sweet, famous bread all over the three worlds. We would take shelter of the speech of our Father.
Jai, welcome to the Afterglow. Dear devotees, if you have any comments or questions, go ahead. Please. What's the yoga science, Krishna Gauda? Prabhu is asking. That's above my pay grade. Also, is Srimad Bhagavatam also a yogic science? Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam is a yogic science. Yoga means connection with Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam provides that connection perfectly for this day and age. It's the perfect yoga system for this day and age. Manohara Prabhu, Hare Krishna, welcome. Thank you for staying for the Afterglow.
Thank you.
I have another one with Gulab Jamun. Gulab Jamuna Jaya.
Gulab Jamuna Jaya. Nice. Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not as bad for the teeth as Glove Jones.
That's good. Yeah, I find that a very powerful analogy because, at least for myself, I feel like sometimes I've kind of not soaked in fully. Just like on the outside, I have this, exterior of like being in the syrup, but really the immersing of the consciousness comes out so differently. Really allowing all of that and the syrup, the bhakti syrup, to really saturate deep within. It's a great inspiration to continue that and immerse the consciousness fully in that.
Yeah, great analogy. Thank you, Manohar Prabhu. Jamuna Jaya, your hand is up.
I just, when Bhima was doing being your worst enemy and glorifying you, I was just, it was calling back to something I was just listening to Keshava Swami give a lecture. I think he's in Australia right now. It was a recorded lecture, and he called it "Bow Down to Rise Up" or something like that. But he was talking about how to take glorification. And he said, I always think of it, the hot potato, that game Hot Potato, where you get it, you pass along. And that is one technique, but, it's like, oh, it's to my spiritual masters. Oh, but there's something else he said that really I've been meditating on. He said that to take the glorification of another person from another person is that person's glorification. Like Bhima was only saying that because it's coming from Bhima, and it's actually for us to use like, oh, look how great Bhima is. So I love that. And then the other aspect is it can be our goal. Like I know I'm not all that in a bag of chips, but someone is seeing that, so let me keep that as the goal. So I love that three-pronged approach of how to not. And what he said is a truly humble person knows how to take glorification and actually keep them humble. If you read the Brihad Bhagavatam Rita, it's all about that. Everybody is, Narada Muni is like looking for the great one, and everyone's like, no, they take it and they double it back, they turn it back and give it to somebody else. So I just love that three-pronged approach of like how not to let glorification get to your head. So just want to say that. Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. Greetings from Peru.
Oh, Jai. Jai. Yeah, okay. Right on. Hope you're doing well there. Thank you for those points. It's really nice. Yeah, it's definitely an art form and in receiving and giving glorification. And I feel like yourself is a very adept in that and a very much receiving people's offering. Because I've seen also when people just reject it, it's like, oh, like I was expressing my heart and appreciation, and it's rejected. And, it's not like a complete offering, but then when it's accepted and received, but in a way where it's like it doubles back, as you mentioned. So it's like it's a flow. It comes to them and it's giving back. A really excellent lessons offered by SB Keshav Maharaj, exalted personality. And I was just also recently hearing a lecture by Ramnath Swami also speaking on that topic of us like glorifying them in a way where it's not flattering, but just like in sincere appreciation from our hearts. And like to what you mentioned, like, and the receiving end, it's humbling. Like it's humbling. Like you can see it as what we're aspiring for, that we're wanting to work up to. It's like, okay, so they're saying these are qualities, and that's what my goal is, like work for that, work towards that, like try to actually embody that. And I pray to Krishna and pray to Guru and to the Vaishnavas that maybe one day I can really embody those qualities. And so it's really nice that we can continue that chain, the succession of receiving and offering back up to others, and appreciating the quality of the person who's offering that glorification. Like how nice that they are, that they see this quality, and that it really must exist within them to be expressing it to others. So, thank you for that point.
Manohara Prabhu. And when we glorify somebody, we're fanning the spark of Krishna consciousness in them. And everybody has the spark. Everybody is worthy of glorification in the sense of fanning the spark. And it's a good therapy for us to see the good, to see Krishna in everyone's heart and glorify them on that basis. And that will, even psychologically, when you treat somebody nicely, then it makes them raise to the occasion, so to say. And that makes you raise to the occasion when somebody's glorifying you. We take it as an encouragement. Always. We take the praise as an encouragement. Narottam Nita Prabhu had
Nonetheless, yeah, I just wanted to say I'm really inspired by you, bro.
Manohara, the Mridanga is making it hard for us to hear people. Can you mute yours?
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm really, really inspired by Prabhu. Well, I've been listening to lectures and chanting a lot, but I recently started to really to read seriously. And I'm really stuck on the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's a little bit overwhelming for me. But anyways, I'm just wanting to say that I really appreciate how seriously you take Krishna consciousness, and also how we can too, because there's so much to read, just in between the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Like there's a lot to read. How can we not feel overwhelmed and just joyfully go ahead with the reading and with the Sangha, with what they're reading and what they're doing?
Concert.
Yeah, sorry for maybe it's a big question, because I feel I have like so many books. I'm like a book collector more than a book reader. But Hare Krishna, if that makes sense, just trying to ask as humbly as possible. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you for that. I can just share some thoughts on it. Certainly there'll be others who have some more concrete answers. But yeah, like by the grace of our acharyas, we have like unlimited material to immerse our consciousness in. And so one is that we can start with what we really need right now, like what's kind of content, what kind of information, what kind of lessons we need to learn right at this moment. And then also we can also seek guidance from those mentors who can like know where we're at and they can accordingly say like, okay, this book for you will be like good now to read. Like this book would be good for you to immerse your consciousness in right now. And also practically setting some kind of structure, like Shri Prabhu has the Be Like a Sage or something like this, and it's like a sage reading app, and it helps like break down how many days it would take to complete a book. It's like that we can commit to reading one or a few books to get through them progressively, like this, but all while also keeping the intention in mind, the purpose, the goal in mind. That's we're not exactly here to become scholars. We're here to become immersed in Krishna consciousness and serving Krishna with love and affection. And so with that as the forefront, then we engage in those readings. My friend and I were just kind of connecting over how the Srimad Bhagavatam that I'm reading and the Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is reading are like almost completely different scriptures, although it's the same Sanskrit. Because he's reading with a deep mood of love and affection, and I'm wanting to develop that. But if sometimes I'm not even like conscious of that, then I can read all the books several times over, and perhaps that love won't awaken in my heart. But if I have that purpose and I'm under the guidance of the spiritual master and in association with those devotees who have that mood, then by Krishna's grace, that mood can awaken with us, even without reading a single book. I would go so far as to say that too, because some of our acharyas like Gorky Shordas Babaji was illiterate, couldn't read, but because his heart was, well, he's a pure devotee, but there was example to show that his heart was completely pure in serving Krishna and serving the Lord and seeking the association of Vaishnavas, developing the mood, developing the essence of the Shastras. And so in our reading, we can approach it with that intention and reap the benefits as such. So those are a few thoughts on that.
Manohara, if you would mute your thing, because the gong and the mridanga make it difficult. We hear people talking.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Min, it looks like you have your hand raised.
Yes,
Go on.
thank you so much. Two things. One, I just wanted to share that I got to meet Ananda Bihari and his beautiful family at the retreat, Sachinandana Swami's retreat. And when I saw him, I thanked him. It's just, I actually started glorifying him, like, thank you so much for just consistency, of your smile day in, day out, just coming in the morning, greeting everyone. It's, so like nice. And so I was going like this, and he didn't say thank you. He didn't say anything, but he yelled out, "It's not me. It's not me. It's Adipusha. It's Adipusha." It was
Over to
really nice.
Prabhupada.
So, I got to experience in person of what you guys are speaking about in real time, and that was just really, really nice. And another thing that I'm thinking is, I still have, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, and, I wanted to read a lot because I wanted to just know who Krishna is. And I felt very limited because there just is so much information of God that there's no way that I would ever understand or understand much of it really. So at some point I felt kind of down about that. And so I asked my teacher who I was reading the Srimad Bhagavatam with, and he, explained to me in a very kind way. And he said, all knowledge, every knowledge, the destination of all knowledge is in love of God, really. So if you have love of God or the desire to develop love of God, love of Krishna, you'll somehow he'll help you. And so I really liked the premise of your lecture today about really emphasizing the connection to Krishna, like really, really want to connect with Krishna at the core of our being, and how everything stems from that, the desire to serve and how to love God. So that was just really helpful for me. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, Min, for your wonderful reflections. Yes, in chapter 15, 6:15 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvashta hamhi sanivistoma tasmit yagana upoham cha vedesha sapirham eva vedyo vedantaka veda vedeva chaham. That the purpose of all of the Vedantas is to know Krishna. And he says in another verse that to know him means that we fall in love with him. Because those qualities of his are so ultimately attractive, and it develops that affection in our hearts. And I think that's why it's so powerful for us to really develop that, to have and maintain and develop that culture of appreciation. Appreciation of devotees and of the temple, of the deity, of Krishna, because it's that appreciation of these qualities that really helps immerse our consciousness, as before mentioned. And then that immersion goes very deep. It reaches to the very core of our hearts, to the point where we're completely absorbed, we're completely dunked, submerged in the Bhakti Rasa Nritta Sindhu, the name of the book of Srila Rupa Goswami. We're immersed in the ocean of love and devotion. And so it's so important, actually, that we appreciate each other, and we appreciate the qualities of Krishna. We appreciate all of these things because we understand that the soul is inherently spectacular. And so whether it's a glorification, which may be in a different format, or an appreciation really helps develop these moods of gratitude and service and love. And we see how powerful appreciating can be through the example of Srila Prabhupada. Even Rana Swami gives the example that when he was in Vrindavan, some of the new devotees were not very much appreciating that Rana was living in Vrindavan. This was before he had initiation. So his name was like Richie at that time. And they were saying, oh, you should be traveling, you should be going with us, you should do all these things. And so he wasn't feeling, he was saying, like, okay, everything they're saying is shastrically correct, but the way in which they're communicating it is not moving my heart. But then, ironically, almost paradoxically, when he met with Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, oh, you're living in Vrindavan now? He's like, he's a guest Prabhupada, I'm in Vrindavan. And he was thinking, like, okay, I'm about to get chastised again, I shouldn't be in Vrindavan, I'm in Maya. He's like, oh, that's very nice. Vrindavan is such a wonderful place. And he appreciated that he had some attachment to Vrindavan, to the Dham. And like that, because he received the appreciation, and I said that, like, okay, now that I got this appreciation, I'm ready to give up living in Vrindavan and go wherever you want. Almost paradoxically, because when we get that appreciation, our heart feels seen, our heart feels loved, and that love is naturally emanating from Krishna himself. And that brings us into the mode of surrender and service. And there's so many examples given like this, like even when a devotee was coming to the temple and we had beautiful, wonderful, like done up hair and everything like that. The devotee was just like, oh, you shouldn't do up your hair so nicely. You're in Maya. And she wasn't feeling the love and appreciation. But then when she saw Prabhupada, first thing Prabhupada saw her and commented, oh, you have such wonderful, beautiful hair. She gave a simple appreciation, and it melted her heart. And the next day, she gave up all of her hair products and moved into the temple. It's like this almost paradoxically. So when we give that appreciation, it is an extremely powerful way of sharing love and affection with each other, with Krishna, and ultimately with ourselves as well. So appreciating you all. Thank you all for wonderful Vaishnavas for allowing me to be in your association.
Thank you, Manohara, for a wonderful class, wonderful exchange, loving exchanges. Sammy Long, please recite the mantra. You are the finisher today. Sammy Long, Jai Jagannath. There she is. Unmute yourself. Unmute, please.
There we go. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you. That was so ecstatic and energizing. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for your association, for your glorification, appreciation. We love you. We need you. Come again tomorrow. Manohar Prabhu.